Hey everyone, I'm here at Indian Wells Tennis Garden with Coach Luke Jensen. Coach,
the fans go nuts.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, for people who don't know you, you won Roland Garros back in '93, I believe.
The Soviets blocked that year. They boycotted, but we were, I think, one or two teams that signed up that year. There was a French revolt. We were just out a couple of knuckleheads, and so they gave us the trophy. Okay. But outside of that, it's a tremendous victory.
Sounds like it was well deserved. You had 10 doubles titles. You were the 2020 World Team Tennis champion coach.
Yep.
And you're still the New York Empire coach, and you just had your first victory of the season.
That's right. So it was 0-5 going into this one, playing the best team in the league this year so far.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where, I mean, you recruit these players, you sign these players, you look at how they do, especially in this format. You got to play fast.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to play dubs.
Yeah.
Everybody has to have the ability to specialize, maybe in a singles player or a doubles, but can you play 3 of the 5 sets? Can you fill in if someone's playing like a dog and play mixed? Can you, like Chris Eubanks doesn't play a lot of mixed doubles.
Yeah.
Well, he had to come through tonight.
Yeah.
So to me, you look at their stats, their career, whether it's juniors, college, and pros, you see what they can do around the net and how they really approach pressure, because everything about this format is pressure. So it's doubles, pressure, and for us, our theme is always about having fun.
Yeah, and it was fun to watch tonight. Kim Clijsters was on fire tonight.
I mean, if she treats birthday people like the poor Katie McNally turns 20 today,
I forgot
and just gets 2 bagels by Kim Clijsters, the Hall of Famer. But Kim, we've all been kind of struggling to put together a complete match. One night, the mixed doubles is doing well, but our singles doesn't do well. Then our singles does well, but our doubles doesn't do well. And so in this format, you can lose some sets, but you've got to remain relevant.
Tight,
you can't get bageled, and you can. In this format, you can stay around, but boy, if you start having some gaps and holes, and from match to match, we have opportunities, but like anything, you've got to capitalize.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the deciding points, it's huge, and I want to get to that in a second. But first, let's dial it back a little bit and go to 2020 at the Greenbrier. It was the same format where it's all condensed into 2 weeks. I remember watching it last year, and I just absolutely loved it. I didn't get any work done those 2 weeks, and I said I'm definitely going next year. So here I am. But you won in the finals. It was literally as close as it can possibly get. I think the shot by Coco Vandeweghe was in by like 4 millimeters or something.
That's right. Hawkeye helped us on that one. And it's one of those things where in 46 years of existence, we've never come down to a sighting point for $500,000 bonus money.
Right.
And so when you put so much on the line, you've played a long season, and it comes down to 1 or 2 swings. And the thing that I felt that was so magical is that you didn't have a couple of tomato cans out there.
Yeah.
You had Sloane Stephens that was subbing in for Genie Bouchard. Genie, who had been to 2 Grand Slam singles finals, very good in doubles. But Sloane Stephens comes in, and it's like Star Wars. She's hitting aces, she's hitting winners.
Yeah.
You have Bethany Maddox-Sands, that was the doubles partner for Sloane Stephens.
Yeah.
She's moving and crossing. She's going to be in the Hall of Fame one day.
Right.
Sloane Stephens is going to get into the Hall of Fame. And then you flip it, Nicole Mellicar had just won Wimbledon, and Coco Vandeweghe, who had just won some majors. So you have these great, extraordinary talents that are playing at the highest level. And so many times tennis, someone chokes. Someone's making errors at the moment that really defines the match.
They get a little nervous. Yeah.
Nobody did. Sloane hits an ace on the match point down right before the deciding point. And tennis is ad scoring at all the Grand Slams. Rarely do you get the deciding point with so much. And I remember specifically, I'm really big on timeouts. I want everyone to slow down. And it's one of my big kind of tips for all players at every level. Make sure you don't rush into a big point. Make sure you know exactly how you get your heart rate down, concentrate on what you want to do, how you want to serve, how you want to return. And I'll never forget, Sloane hits the ace in the ad court right down the tee, and right away, players that really want the defining moment, who meet the moment. And Coco says, I got it.
Yeah.
Now, how many players on the planet, there are 26 million American tennis players, in the United States that played last year, how many of those want that moment with that kind of those stakes on the line?
Right.
It's $500,000 or you don't get it. It's win or lose that kind of dough. Besides, the trophy and all the other stuff and the thrill of victory. And right away she said, I want it. Yeah. It's mine. It's mine.
Yeah.
And you want, to me as a coach, I want that attitude. I don't care if we lose the point. Yeah. I want the player that wants to take the shot.
Absolutely.
And my only thing was just at this level, you go for winners.
Yeah.
Just go for a winner.
Yeah.
And she did. And she ripped it down the line. Bethany Maddox-Sands, a good doubles player, a very good doubles player, a good doubles play where she moves. And then we just had the right shot played at the right time on the back of the line.
Yeah. And it goes in by just a hair. And I remember, describe the moment a little bit, because I remember watching it on TV, and I felt like y'all weren't sure at first. It landed, and you were like, everything was too loud. You couldn't hear if they called it out or in. Describe the moment.
Because of the Hawkeye, it's automatic. So there aren't any challenges. Right. It is the final call. And when I remember specifically, we didn't hear a call. And so they had reviewed it. Now you can't challenge it, but you can review. I want to see in the computer. I remember specifically saying the entire time there hasn't been one problem with the Hawkeye system. If the computer is off this one time where we are jacked up for this one call with so much money on the line, and I just couldn't believe it. And then it confirmed I was on the back of the line. And today I still get goosebumps. The team still stays in touch through WhatsApp. We have a group chat, and we support each other when, Neil Scupsy's playing Davis Cup right now. Jack Sock's playing Davis Cup. Those experiences here at World Team Tennis, even the ones here where we were 0-5 going into tonight's match, it just brings people and personalities and talents together. And for me, my theme is always going to be, we're Team Awesome. I want to be awesome all the time, especially when things aren't going our way. I want to lead the league in fun. You won't see it in the win column, the loss column, but in the X factor that we're going to go out there and go for our shots, go for big shots, and have a ton of fun.
Yeah, and y'all do a good job of that. Y'all are definitely one of the more entertaining teams to watch.
And then everyone sees our record and go, what's wrong with it? Didn't you guys win this last year?
Why is this guy so pumped up? He's 5 so far.
And I got the championship belt, World Wrestling, and give it to one of the fans in the crowd. So to me, this was always my jam. I loved playing this way as a player, whether it was on the tour or on the Grand Slams. I just think this is where tennis needs to go with the energy and passion, because it draws out everybody's fun factor. You're paying a lot of money to get here, pays a lot of money to get into parking, drinks, and food, and a ticket. So you better be entertained by the best talent in the world.
It's World Team Tennis format overall for me is as good as it gets. I think it's so much fun. So let's talk a little strategy. So as a coach at World Team Tennis, you were the home team tonight, is that right?
Well, that's a really good pickup, because I read it wrong.
Okay.
I read it yesterday. So when we have to submit our lineups, you put in the visiting team puts in what their lineup is, who's playing men's singles, who's playing women's singles,
right?
And then the home team, the designated home team, will set the order of play. Well, I read it as we were the away team, so I just sent who was playing what. So I had men's singles, women's singles, and I just kind of wrote it down. So it worked out great for me, because Marcos Giron, this was his first match in World Team Tennis. So normally I wouldn't have thrown him into the wolves, into the fire like that, not knowing all the nuances of the rules in World Team Tennis, the lets and all those things, the substitutions, the timeouts, and the music. But it worked out for us. We had a strong mixed doubles at the end. To me, it's you set this lineup for your strength to be at the end of the match. So if you are behind, your matchups favor you towards the end.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can make that comeback.
Yep.
So why haven't I seen a lot of subs this year?
I had to sub out Kim Kleisers at one point earlier.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah. So she was playing, who was she playing? She was playing somebody, and she was down 3 or 4-0. And you sub out a Hall of Famer. How do you do that, right? And the whole time it's like, do I really want to do this? But you got to think of the games. You're not thinking about the sets. You're thinking of, one game is going to make a difference by the end.
Yeah.
And so Kim Clijsters had to be, I pulled the plug. She was cool about it. She understood.
Yeah.
She didn't like it. No one wants to be pulled. We don't have a culture of that in tennis. But Flipkins came in, did a little magic, gave us a game. We end up losing the match, but you just never know when the momentum can shift. You see it all the time with the timeouts. Coaches use it at specific times to slow everything down, to organize the team or the player to, let's get that point right in front of us. And sometimes that can really change the momentum.
Yeah. And how much coaching is going on the court? I see you step in on most of the deciding points. Are you telling them, like, hey, let's go with the body serve here, I formation, or anything like that?
When I coached in college, or when I played in college at Southern Cal, Rick Leach's dad, Dick Leach, he was a tactician. He was a genius. That was the first time I ever learned as a player how to use all my weapons tactically. Before, I was just kind of a brute and just hit balls and stuff. And then he showed me how to find matchups and weaknesses and things. And did a lot of film study and redug into the stats. And this was in the 80s.
Okay.
So now, and I just kind of take the pros because they know their games more than anybody else. I always feel my role is to make sure that I lead the whole team in enthusiasm and effort, that there's a pulse. And I drive the pulse. On those nut and bolt where they're not really sure where to go, I'm always in my mind calculating because in my seat, I can see the game differently. When you're in the middle of the battle, when you're between the lines, you're playing and flying, and sometimes you forget strengths and weaknesses. So an example was at the end of this match, Flipkins was serving. I knew that Arevalo loves his backhand cross court. Well, Flipkins loves to hit that flat serve wide. I've had her in 2019. We got to the finals. That's her best shot. I always like players going with their best stuff, even if it's to their opponent's best stuff. It's move against counter move. So basically we went and I'll say, okay, we're going to go flip. This is only my suggestion. I don't run, I don't call. I call my idea of what it looks like. And so we did it down 2-3. It worked. And we go right back to it. And we force the returner to go to their second or third best option. So I'll get involved in play calling. If I really feel there's something we can do, I'll throw it out there. But for the most part, I let them work on automatic pilot. If it's love 30, 15, 40, I'll say, even the Kim Clijsters, the Hall of Famer, like, this pattern's working. Or let's break a losing pattern. I'm really big with tennis players tactically knowing the how. How am I winning points? How am I losing points? You've got to have both. That mental scoreboard, that computer between the ears that knows what is going on. And if you don't know that, you're just flying blind. You're just, I hate players that say, I'm going to play my game. Well, that's a losing tennis player. If you're thinking you're winning, and in doubles, it's more like chess. Move and counter move. It's not like singles is like checkers. You know you're going to hit the ball. The other side. It's like pretty simple. But in doubles is so much like a thinking player's game where you have to communicate. You have to get right away. Who's the player that's going to give us an error? Who's the player that's falling apart emotionally? Even Kim Clijsters was noticing players that are getting nervous. You study body language on the other side. And so that's why when you see, let's say, a Rafa and a Roger, these guys who are so tough emotionally, they never show weakness emotionally. They don't give the other side a chance to draw energy from bad body language. And so for me, the coaching really comes into the emotional side, and then tactically I sprinkle that in when needed.
Okay, that makes sense. So in that scenario, you're forcing Arevalo to hit that backhand down the line. Or if he goes cross, Chris is there.
We're there. I got 6'7" of humanity right there, who's great around the net. He's quick and he's confident. So I want to take away their best stuff. And that's why I'm surprised that more players don't run more staggered like the Australian, where someone's really good going cross court over the low part of the net, away from the net player. Just stand there and take it away. Force them to go over the high part of the net. Force your opponent to return down the line. The other bonus to that is now their partner off a good return, they have a tough time crossing. It's easy to cross when the return's gone cross court, and now their return is it's right there.
Yeah.
So, I'm really big on moving early and often. That was a Roy Emerson thing, and that guy's in the Hall of Fame with 26 Grand Slam titles. And so to me, it's always picking up and studying as the match goes on. What is the other side doing? So when the moment comes, I have a good, solid plan for my players. They may take it, we may lose, but I always want to be thinking while I'm out there so I can insert some kind of knowledge of what's been going on.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I think the advice to move early is really good for a lot of players who I'll teach people that who are even less comfortable at the net, because a lot of times if you move early, you don't ever have to hit the volley.
Yeah.
Because you go, if they get it down the line, your partner knows you're moving, so they're there to cover. But a lot of times you just force the missed return.
Yeah.
And
you look, what's the number one thing in tennis? Watch the ball.
Yeah.
For 200 years, this sport's been around, and every coach that's ever played says, watch the ball.
Eye on the ball.
Eye on the ball. So when you miss hit, when you shank it, when you just move a little bit, it distracts that returner.
Yeah.
And so to me, it also, when you set in motion that positivity, now you show the other side you've been coached. You look like a doubles player.
Right.
Right now, I think, like Amanda Anisimova, I think she's a wonderful talent. She'll win Grand Slams. She will be in the Hall of Fame one day. But boy, when she's on the doubles court, I study her. She's not moving. She's not looking to move.
Yeah, she's not real confident at the net.
And she, with her big ground strokes, one day, and we saw it, Andy Roddick versus Roger Federer, finals of Wimbledon. This guy had a huge serve, huge game, but a defining moment. He was about to go up, I think 2-0, 2-1. He had a high backhand volley and just kind of bricked it.
Yeah.
Saying you have got to be comfortable and use doubles to do it. Use mixed doubles.
Yeah.
But you got to be coached and coachable to be able to move and stuff. And if you get burned down the line, that's okay.
Right.
Hall of Fame. The Bryan brothers got burned down the line all the time, but they knew the math. They knew the odds. Going over the high part of the net, short part of the court, you're playing this game, move and counter move. You're playing this game of chicken with the returner.
Yeah.
And again, the more you do it, I used to love my college teams crossing a lot early, setting the tone that the returner thought we're going a lot.
Yeah.
So at 30-all or a big point, we would fake or stay, and the return would come right to us and put it away. Yeah. So we're always kind of setting the table for the big moments.
Yeah, one of we were talking before we started recording, and I started the Tennis Tribe in 2016, and one of my early most popular lessons was actually if you're not getting beat down the line at least 3 times per set, then you're not moving enough.
Oh, I like that. I like that. Yeah.
So you should be getting beat down the line. It's not, don't view it as a negative. View it as like, that's the one they got, but they're going to miss the next 2, or I'm going to hit a volley on the next 2.
And that's really the divide, isn't it? When I see doubles played at all level, you either accept those odds and accept those winners, or you never break out of it, and you become almost a liability to your doubles team because you're so predictable and you're just standing there. Yeah. But I have players all the time, don't watch the ball, watch the players at the net, watch where their eyes are. They don't turn and look at their partner hitting the ball. They look at the person across from them, because that's the first threat that they have at the net. So it's such a wonderful part of our sport that really isn't utilized tactically enough. They just play and they see results, but they don't see to me, the inner workings of a real good doubles point.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit about your story. How did you get started in tennis? Your career, you played with your brother a lot.
I was very fortunate. My dad played for a cup of coffee for the New York Giants. He was a football guy. My mom played basketball before tied the line, 6'2". So 2 athletes that were phys ed teachers at the high school level, and also high school coaches. My mom coached gymnastics, and my dad coached football and tennis. So I was always around it. Now there's a much bigger story, a longer story to it, but for the most part, tennis really helped my footwork. I wanted to be a football player. Okay. And so I have a younger brother and 2 younger sisters, but tennis was the one we could all play. My grandparents played, my parents played, and so we could go to tournaments and my sisters could play. And so it was just the sport that we could all kind of travel together, practice, hang out. And we had kind of a really interesting tennis community. So my dad being the high school coach, there was a lot of like come together, match play, having the adults, having the high school players. And there was a really good backboard across the street from the high school tennis courts.
Okay.
So when I was a kid, my dad would be finishing up practice, and I would hit thousands and thousands of balls on the backboard. And then my brother did, and my sisters. And so to me, I was about 13 or 14, and tennis was the one that I looked at could take me around the world. I love traveling. I came from a very small town in Michigan, Ludington, Michigan, population like 8,000, and but no indoor tennis courts. But it was the one sport that, boy, if you put more balls in than the other side, tournaments are in Detroit. That's 4 hours away. Chicago, 4 hours away, and then Dallas and LA. And the more you work, the more you get consistent in the sport as far as volleys, and you just keep growing. Then internationally, I traveled internationally for the first time as a 15-year-old. I went to Europe, and I got to see Wimbledon, and I got to see a bunch of stuff. And tennis was cool then. Borg, McEnroe, Connors, Everett, and all that stuff. And tennis was really kind of just off of its tennis movement of the 70s. And I had great coaching and a great community that really encouraged everybody to practice and play. And I think the sport of tennis was more of our family sport that took me around the world, where I got to see different cultures. It was just every continent in the world except maybe, who knows? I mean, the North Pole, South Pole, I've never played down there, but I'm willing to try.
So you didn't play in college, right?
I did, Southern Cal. Rick Leach,
Rick
Leach was my roommate and captain at Southern Cal, and his dad, Dick Leach, was my coach, and he was the one who really tactically took me to another level that helped me in my pro career, because I hit tennis balls, but I didn't play tennis. When you play tennis, you're a thinking tennis player, and he taught me the singles, the doubles. I mean, this is a school that had Dennis Ralston, Stan Smith, Bob Lutz, some of the greatest tennis players who ever played, and really a lot of doubles players came out of there. And like on my team, Rick Leach won, I think, 9 Grand Slams in doubles, number 1 in the world. I won a French. Scott Melville played with Rick Leach, got to the finals of Wimbledon. So that was just on one team. Jorge Lozano was in the top 10 in the world. I think he won a mixed doubles. Tim Posset, I think, won a mixed doubles Grand Slam, and that was all on one team. And we really emphasized, Coach Leach, the art of doubles. And it really is an art, how you move and communicate with your partner. Yeah,
I like the checkers and chess analogy. That's I think I'll probably steal that from you.
Absolutely.
That's really good. So then you go pro. You played a little singles, right?
Yeah, everybody plays singles and doubles. I was ended up to be a solid junior singles and doubles. Played with Patrick McEnroe in doubles, and then got to college and had a great opportunity to play with Rick Leach, and then I played with a couple other guys, but singles and doubles there. And then when you go on the tour, you're kind of starting out at nothing, and you're working up. And I got to, I think, 168, I think, was my career high in singles. That was my first year, and around the same in doubles, I think. And then after, I think that was the fall of 87, and then going into 88, doubles kind of took off. And, the thing is, there's no money at the satellite and futures and challenger level. So as I'm getting in the main draw and staying in 5-star hotels and being driven around in Porsches and Mercedes, doubles is looking pretty good. I'm picking up a paycheck, and I'm looking at singles, and I'm going to have to go back to the minor leagues and take the Greyhound again. Greyhound buses are not fun, and you're rooming with your doubles partner and stuff. So I think that was the big separation for me. There were a couple other things. I jacked up my forehand. I got to the second round of the U.S. Open singles main draw in 84, 85, and 86. I think those are the years. And I messed up my forehand for about 5 years, and I lost it. I couldn't get it back. And then 5 years after that, I was messing around with Jimmy Arias, and he found my forehand, helped me find my forehand. He's like
it wasn't like an injury? You just
No, I was one of these guys at that time. No, I was always a guy that wanted to squeeze out more performance. And it was like, try this technique, try that technique. And I overdid it. And I had a great game, and I had a lot of momentum and winning pro tournaments even as an amateur. And then I just wanted more depth and everything. And I just jacked it up. And it's weird. Sometimes you jack it up too much and you can't. Before it was just I hit a forehand or a lot of it is just the natural method. You hit the way you hit. No one would ever teach the Rafael Nadal follow through.
Right.
That's just his.
Yeah.
You wouldn't. I mean, there's so many, like, no one can teach or even Medvedev, you can't teach that weird forehand of his, that side spin slapping. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
But you can't change that. Like, that's what the tennis gods gave him.
Yeah.
And for me, I got away from that natural shot, and because I didn't know how it worked, I just lost it. So even when I tried to get it back, I didn't understand the mechanics. I wasn't really a mechanic of my game.
Yeah.
And so it taught me I'm a much better coach because of that, because now I use more of the natural method. I take what players do well, and I try to get them to understand how their strokes work instead of taking it for granted. When you miss, do you know why you miss? Do you know why your game goes off? And do you know how to fix it? Like, you're truly a mechanic with a tool belt that can go under the hood and fix up your jacked up game. So many players that I work with, I'll say, what's your adjustment? They have no idea. You've just hit the ball in the net. What's your adjustment? More topspin. Why would you hit more topspin if you just netted the ball in the bottom of the net? You're making it worse because they're not really a student of the game. They're a natural player that just hits balls. And that's why I think a lot of young players get frustrated because they don't know the answers.
Yeah.
Knowledge is the key to all confidence. And so I try to empower players through getting them to understand how they hit the ball. And when things go bad or things go good, do you understand what the hell is going on? Because a lot of players don't.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I think a lot of people listening they play USTA leagues and tournaments and things like that. So it's not super high level, but it's, the majority
backbone of our sport,
absolutely.
Man. They are the backbone of our sport. I love you're out of Dallas, Memphis, great leagues there.
Yeah.
I've been in Atlanta since 1990. Nothing's bigger in the world than Alta. 120,000 league players, and they play doubles.
Yeah.
Why the pro game doesn't understand that their demographic, their fan base plays doubles, understands doubles.
Yeah.
So, we can talk forever on why the pro game needs to embrace doubles, like the Jensen brothers, like the Bryan brothers. But we got to go to our fan base that understands it, loves it, and enhance that and really encourage that doubles game.
Yeah. So let's talk strategy a little bit. Let's say, so here at World Team Tennis, we have deciding points. Let's say your team is serving, or let's say you're playing and you're serving. They choose the ad court. So you're serving to the ad court. What are you going to go with? Regular, T, body?
Am I playing with my brother? Remember, the situation is everything. So I'm playing my brother, 6'4" lefty.
Okay.
So he covers a lot of real estate just with his size. Okay. The other advantage I have having a lefty partner is that on the cross-court return, my lefty partner has his forehand. That is a really good matchup for us.
Yeah.
And then you go from our formation that we're going to run. So we were a little older, traditional. So we ran very little Aussie. We ran a lot of staggered formation because his big forehand volley, that meat hook, was so incredibly soft. He could stick it and hit angles. And then we go to the returner. Now, if I'm playing Patrick McEnroe, who's got a world-class two-hand backhand, it's really tough for me to go, I have a lefty serve and a righty serve, so I could go lefty wide to it or a righty kick. That's a high percentage. I'm really big in doubles on high percentage first serves. I won't go for a 130. I want to get a serve that's going to really put us on the offensive right away. But I wouldn't serve that to Patrick McEnroe's backhand. I can tell him, and I've told him in big matches, go into your forehand, most likely lefty, into the body. He's going to tail that thing right into his body and force him to move out of the way. And if he pulls it, he's going right to Murphy. Okay. So I've kind of done, if he moves out of the way and tries to take a forehand, he's now out of position. He goes to Murphy. Murphy's got a nice ball right down the middle. Yeah. So we're almost thinking like 3 shots ahead. The first shot, what the returner's going to do off a quality first serve, and then where the volley goes. So you set up that type of thing. Now, a lot goes into how big can I serve it? Because if I'm serving a meatball, that's a different type of mindset.
Right.
But if I can get a good 3/4 serve into the body, and let's say a Patrick McEnroe, if I'm playing Sampras, he hates his high backhand. So I'll go righty kick, right-handed serve, kick up, high to his backhand. He should catch it, even though he's one of the greatest players of all time, because his backhand return's embarrassing for Pete Sampras. Yeah. Just catch the ball. The fans don't want to see you shank another ball that way. So many times I see players at all levels don't think about the matchups. Your best stuff against their weakest stuff.
Right.
And whether it's Pete Sampras, Roger Federer, or Roger Rabbit, you got to think about strength versus weakness.
Right.
You got to think where have they been going effectively and where have they been missing. So to me, I always, when in doubt, go body serve, body, make players get out of the way of the ball, and then let my partner at the net finish it off. I'm not trying to be a hero with an ace. Yeah. I want my partner to be the hero with the winning volley.
Yeah, absolutely. So a few takeaways there for the listeners. One, high percentage of first serves, right? So we're going 75% first serve there. You like the body serve a lot.
Love body serve, yeah.
We're trying to set up our partner at the net, not trying to go for the ace into ourselves.
You go for an ace and miss, now you're stuck with a second serve.
That's a lot of pressure on a deciding
You don't want to double faults. Yeah. How reliable is your second serve? So there's nothing wrong with three-quarter body when in doubt.
Yeah. And then last, it sounds like we all need to learn how to hit a lefty serve as well.
Well, I would say it takes a little time to get a lefty. He needs a coach that believes in serving ambidextrous.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing, finding a partner that's lefty. If you're righty, man, think about the best teams in the world. McEnroe, Fleming, Newcomb and Roach, lefty-righties, Navratilova and Shriver. You can look at
Bryan brothers.
Those guys, lefty-righty.
They were pretty good.
They were extraordinary. So you see those lefty-righty combinations where opposites attract. You can cover so much ground because you can, like the Bryan brothers, do I put the forehands in the middle? You can do that in pickleball too. Or do you put the backhand, where do you strategically move your pieces around to find the best combinations? But to me, anytime you can find the opposite of you. So another thing in doubles, on my team, I was the guy that kept us around. I was the solid, put a lot of balls in play, emotionally solid. I was the older brother.
Yeah.
My brother's role was to be the flamethrower. Okay. He was the guy that went for winners. Now, he can miss the entire set. I didn't need him to make all of his shots. I needed him to win his points on break point. I needed him to go for winners, so he threatened the other side. He may miss the entire set or the entire match, but I knew at some time, if I encouraged him, he was going to start hitting lines. He was going to start hitting winners. So that was our magic, is that he knew his role was to go for winners. My role is to keep us on target, relevant if things were going bad.
Yeah. How do you think about the forehands in the middle versus forehands on the outside?
Depending on surface. So Murphy and I moved around. So my brother's backhand return cross court two-hander was money. Okay. You slide that thing out there from the deuce court, being a lefty. He could hit that sharply. It was tough to poach on him there.
Yeah.
He also could hold it and go down the line. And then if they didn't sit it into that backhand pocket, lefty inside out was monster. He just had a monster ball there. And so on a slower court like clay, where we won at the French, on a hard court, that was effective. But when we got on grass, it was tough for him to get that reach out on a really slow ball that was sliding, fast indoor court. So we would switch and put the forehands on the outside. So I'd play the deuce, he'd play the ad. Okay. If we played, let's say, Johnny McEnroe. John McEnroe had a great lefty wide serve. Yeah. It was tough for me with my two-hand backhand to get out there. So we would flip.
Yeah.
So we really looked at the other side and said, we have McEnroes. We're playing them in Delray Beach in February. So we're going to play Murphy in the ad. I'm going to play the deuce. We played them a couple years ago at the U.S. Open, and they smoked us. Yeah. And I played the ad, and I just couldn't get on the Mac's serve. So we got a little surprise for the McEnroe bros. And you can tell them. I said it right here.
All right, we'll release that here on the podcast. There we go.
Breaking news.
So let's talk mixed doubles strategy. World Team Tennis is one of, I think, only 5 times during the year where we get to see mixed doubles. How do you think about mixed doubles strategy versus women's?
I hope you get Desiree Krajcek on.
I think she comes tomorrow.
I hope you get her on because to me, I mean,
she won.
I followed her
3 mixed Grand Slams this year. Yeah,
she
in
wins
a row.
The 4th. She's going to JT. Go Big Blue. Thank you, buddy. if she wins the Australian, she's going to the Hall of Fame. That's all 4 in her pocket. It's not a calendar slam, but it's like a Serena Slam, a Tiger Slam. And because you can't play a warm-up tournament to these slams, like you have to be really good. And on the mixed doubles court, the AT player, if they're serious and they're playing for real money, that's how I played. I went after the WTA player. I went guns blazing, and I'd tell them they're going. And it wasn't about bad sportsmanship. That was the best chance for us to win. Because the other side, the other ATP player, they should be shelling my partner. And so it's an appetite of destruction that you have to come in with at that level. And I think for her to win 3 straight, she's almost like, to me, since Djokovic didn't win the Grand Slam, she's like, to me, the player of the year. To win 3 straight slams with 2 different partners, to beat her French Open winning partner in the finals of Wimbledon. And I have so much respect for her because she knows she's going to get shelled. She has to play with confidence. She has to play fearless. She has to play really good. She plays that deuce side with a beautiful 2-hand backhand cross court, being a lefty. She doesn't have a big serve, but she has a very effective slider that drives ATP players crazy. 10% of the world's population is lefty, and I think they should be thrown off the planet because even lefties hate playing lefties. Think about the great matchups of all time. Rafa, lefty versus Roger. That's a matchup Roger would lose. Lefty versus righty. Navratilova, lefty versus Chris Evert, righty. McEnroe, Borg. I mean, it's really tough playing these guys. And in ad scoring specifically, all those big points, 15-30, 30-15, 40-30, 30-40. You pull your opponent off the court, that's a huge tactical advantage. So to me, Desiree, she's one of my favorite players to watch. And it spills into why we have to embrace those players because our fan base plays doubles. And I wish we'd play more mixed doubles. We had a huge rating a few years ago. The Hopman Cup used to have mixed doubles. And it was Roger Federer in mixed doubles versus Serena Williams.
I remember
I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm watching this match. We've never seen it, and we will never see it again, which is sad. And to never seen the Bride brothers play against Roger and Rafa, I think is a big miss in tennis history because I want to see those 4 at the top of their game, let's say maybe 5-6 years ago. Going at it. And they should have done it at the Laver Cup. We should have, had an exhibition where, because the world, we want to know, like, what would have happened if Roger and Rafa would have played against a team that's won that much in the Bryan brothers.
Well, why doesn't that stuff happen? It seems like there's just too many organizations in tennis to like bring it all together.
Well, you got to believe in it. You know what I mean? Number one, you got to believe in the business model that it can be, financially viable. To me, tennis is a game at the professional level that I always say, and I love these guys, and they never fail to fail. They always find a way to jack up a great thing. And so you've got the 4 slams that are the 4 Super Bowls, and then you have Indian Wells, and everybody's got a piece of their action. When I'm in the NFL and the commissioner, Roger Goodell, says, this is what we're doing for the best interest of professional football, it gets done. We in tennis have so many powers that have a piece of the action that we can't even agree on when the tiebreaker should be played. Think about that. The Australian does it one way.
That's a good point.
The Wimbledon does it another way. I
can't even agree on the rules, like the same rules.
So how can we get our fan base to know what the rules are? You got every tournament, it's different. So to me, that's even a small example of a bigger issue.
Bigger problem,
so
for sure.
No one is going to give up even a little power or money to say what's in the best interest of the game. No, what's in the best interest for Wimbledon, says Wimbledon, what's in the best interest for the U.S. Open, because they got to support every district, every section in the United States from a 3-week tournament. And they got to pay for the new roofs on Ash and the remodel of Louis Armstrong. USTA just built a 100-court facility in Lake Nona, tennis, the national campus. those bills are real, COVID or no COVID.
Yeah.
And so, like, you got to make all that money. So to think of where does doubles come in, you got to believe in it.
Right.
I believe in it. The Bryan brothers believe in it. Wayne Bryan, who saved doubles after we were done, believes in it. And World Team Tennis, obviously Billie Jean King believes in it. But where do you put it in importance? And find where you got to get your best players. Like here at Indian Wells, why is it so much fun? Because Rafa plays doubles, Rogers played doubles. You put your best players out there for the game of tennis. So instead of a singles ranking and a doubles ranking, why don't we have a tennis ranking? Who's the best tennis player in the world?
Yeah.
And pound by pound, if you really want to talk about GOATs, everybody, Martina Navratilova is the greatest tennis player of all time. She played all the events. 49 years old. She wins her 59th major in mixed doubles. Singles, doubles, and mixed. She played with Bob Bryant, won at the U.S. Open. Yeah. Hands down. So stop talking about who's got 20 and who's got 23.
Yeah.
The 59. Girls got, 59 majors. Now, Margaret Court, in a different era, has 62. But Navratilova covered 5 decades, won a ton of Grand Slams, won a ton of World Team Tennis titles, and I played against her, and that girl could play. Yeah. She could play from the baseline to the net, lefty, of course, and was just so fearless and fun. And to me, that's if you really want to take this game to the next level, we got to look as far as who's the best tennis player. That includes doubles and mixed, instead of who's the best singles player.
So where would we? This seems like a good 20-year vision you have, right, to make doubles more popular and give it kind of maybe not. I don't know if it'll ever be equal to singles, but get.
Well, that's a problem right there. Just even thinking that we can't even get there. We can't even have a conversation with saying it's impossible. We're in the impossible business.
So what do we start with, like, over the next year?
Well, let's just say, I have to be Grand Poobah first. Okay. You've got to give me grand powers to rule the whole thing.
You've got it right now.
And I want to say 99 or 2000, early 2000s, there was a conversation on the tour that said, okay, how we move the ball forward in tennis is grandfathering in an aging Pete Sampras, an aging Andre Agassi, grandfathering in all these players that have played under this one system. And then moving forward, anybody that is coming onto the tour moving forward, so that would have been Rafa, Djokovic, now I think Roger was already on the tour at that point. He was just maybe a rookie. But if you play singles, you have to play doubles. Now, the next big key is the hurdle that we got to get over and through. If I'm Grand Poobah, no best of 5 anymore. Best of 3 sets.
Because you're playing 2 events.
2 events. Yeah. I love pressure, so I like no ad. So if you're really giving me ultimate powers, I completely change I give it a facelift. A complete makeover, because pressure is what people tune into when it's a 3-all point, deciding, 4-all in the tiebreaker, the old school tiebreaker. Yeah. So if you can't handle pressure, you can't be on the tour. I mean, the golf, you got to win your card to get on the tour.
Right.
So talking about pressure, you get one chance to get on the tour. If you don't do it, see you next year. So to me, we play 2 out of 3 sets at the majors, but you have to play 2 of the 3 events. You can play mixed if you want, or you can play doubles, but you have to play. We don't do the singles ranking anymore. We have a tennis ranking. And you get in on that ranking, and all your results, singles and doubles and mix, spill into that. So if you lose first round, you're Roger Federer, I'm still in the mix. Yeah. I can still affect my tennis ranking that gets me in the finals.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we could under your system, we could have a number 1 player in the world who doesn't even play singles.
Well, it would be tough, because if the points were divided up equally, and the whole thing about equal prize money, I say that's Bush League, because the doubles only gets 20%, if not less, of the action on the men's tour, and then they split that with their partner. Yeah. I'm saying you are equal across the board. You get the same amount of prize money in doubles and mixed as you do in singles per round. Now you're saying to the Mackie McDonald's, this makes sense. Yeah. The Marco Girones, this makes sense to play doubles. Money, points ranking instead of just staying on that one side. If you equal out all the points, you can't be dominant in one division and still be number one. You have to balance it out. Remember, the NBA plays 82 regular season games. And the Major League Baseball plays 162. Their stars are playing all of them. Big thing in the NBA, if these guys want to take off, people get upset. I want to see LeBron James.
Yeah.
I want to see Kobe Bryant play. People want to see their stars on the court, whether it's singles, doubles, or mixed. And Indian Wells has proven out to be, they pack it out every single time.
Yeah, it's a great tournament. So under your system, you have to play 2 out of 3 events. We've got 2 out of 3 sets. We have no ad. We have a tennis ranking.
Yeah.
2 out of 3 sets, 7-point tiebreaker at 6 all.
First 5 point. First to 5 to win by 1.
5, win by 1. Okay, so we're taking a lot from World Team Tennis. World Team Tennis here.
Yeah. And I think that should be in college. I think we should scrap what we have in college now and make this on 1 court instead of 6 courts. And so you'll have exactly what we have. We can be truly a co-gender sport at the NCAA level. And you could put in basketball arenas, volleyball courts and stuff and pack it, put bands in there and everything. And now you have men's singles, women's singles, men's doubles, and it's all done in 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
So you cut it all out. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It makes a ton of sense.
But you've nominated me as Grand Poobah, and I'm enjoying this.
Well, hopefully we can make it happen in reality, too.
Yeah.
So before we get to a couple rapid-fire questions, from when you played, what was your favorite play in doubles?
I would say number 1 is when I was returning, establishing the down-the-line return.
Okay.
It could be a bunt lob. It could be just driving it down the line or aiming for the chest of the net player.
Okay.
Early and often going right at them to set the tone that I wasn't afraid of you.
Yeah. And
then to create a sliver of doubt that I had no problem going at them or down the line or bunt lob.
Yeah.
Because so many times in doubles, that net player, if they're comfortable, confident, and they're really kind of capable, they're always going to be kind of cheating. And if I can get them to hesitate a split second, my cross-court return, which is my highest percentage return, is going to be more effective. And I don't need that window's bigger if they're a half a step late. So I'm always encouraging players, even when they miss, go down the line. Go down. You are setting the tone, the mindset to the other side that they have to respect my down the line. Even when they knew what I was doing, they had to wait a little bit. You just didn't have free range to cross at will.
Yeah, I've started doing that more recently myself, and I've been working on my lob return down the line, which has been really effective. But what I'll do is, like you said, early on, I'll go down the line once or twice, and especially if I make like the first 2, for example, I won't do it again for a while, but I'll look there. I'll make sure that
they see you,
like they're lining up to serve, and I'll turn my head and look down the line. And then I'll hit cross court. And they never move. It's
and
crazy.
They're studying you, they're looking at you. And then if you really want to feel saucy, you just tell them I'm going down your line. And you just tell them.
I haven't done that
yet. And you go down their line, and then they think you're messing with them. And then you say you're on a big point, I'm going down your line, and then you go cross court. So there's a lot of junk being, spoken on the tennis court.
I'm gonna have to steal some of this from you.
Yes.
So what are your off-season plans?
Tennis never really stops. For me, as an old fossil of the game, I just took a position as director of racket sports at the Garden of Gods Resort, Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs.
Oh, cool.
So we have a 4 indoor court facility. We're about to go into the winter season. 5 outdoor, 7 pickleball outdoor, and then we'll lay down the lines for pickleball. So I kind of shift after World Team Tennis. I've got the Australian Open coming up. I've been working with ESPN since '94 as an analyst. So we'll do that probably because of COVID. We did it last year from ESPN Studios in Connecticut. I'm hoping to do it from LA this year because of the time change. We'd go from 7 in the evening to 3 o'clock in the morning on the East Coast. So if I'm on the West Coast, I'd probably start about 3 or 4 to about midnight. So that's a little bit more manageable. And then really right now is since I just started at this resort, Garden of the Gods, is getting the pickleball and the tennis kind of meshed, using as much court time as possible, because I'm really big on filling courts.
Yeah.
That's my number one jam, is being that glue to gamer range, getting levels, bringing programming, clinics, lessons, and events. Match play on the weekend, see where there are holes in the schedule, and then fill those courts with fun and action, doubles, mixed doubles, pickleball. I really encourage a lot of tennis players to play pickleball because it helps their doubles, the shifting. Now, it's a little bit different technique-wise because you can't step forward into the kitchen in doubles. So you can't traditionally, in tennis, obviously you want to step forward in those volleys. So that's a little different. But the dink game, if you're playing pickleball properly, it really helps your touch. And you really learn that net game in pickleball that translates right away in doubles. Now you're using more angles than you ever did before, and you're not swinging at things. There's no swinging. It's that little tap, that little bunt.
Interesting. I need to try some pickleball.
You would love it.
I've played a few times, but I don't play right. Like I don't do the dink thing. I'm swinging at my volleys.
And that's what tennis players do.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, you get out there and you work on that dink game to set up the swing. So you get it low, where they hit up and then you put it away.
Okay.
So it's a lot of tactics that go in behind it. And then I use a lot of spin that helps my trick shots on the doubles court.
Sure.
So I use a bunch of, slices and side spins and things.
That's awesome. Well, if I come out to Colorado, we'll have to play.
Please, yeah, get it going.
So let's finish up with some rapid fire questions. What is your favorite tennis tournament?
French Open.
Open.
You win it and you always play well. For whatever reason, I always played well in Paris. Won the juniors there in doubles with Patrick McEnroe over Boris Becker and Eric Winogradzki, a French guy. Semis of the singles and juniors. And then I always played well. In some places, you just have the vibe, the Kavorka, the momentum, and reached finals of mixed doubles there. Always played well. I could be playing like garbage going into that tournament, but Paris was always magical to me. Monte Carlo is one of the most beautiful. If you ever get a chance and you're going around southern France, stop in at the Monte Carlo Country Club, and it's just you play serving into the Mediterranean Sea on one side and into the side of a mountain on the other side. And there are parasailers. It's beautiful. Food's great there. Those two, I mean, all the Grand Slams are special, but they're siblings. Wimbledon's different. Went to Wimbledon this year after 2020 was off, and you're like, man, I'm so blessed to be able to go to this tournament. It should be everybody's, their pilgrimage in tennis is to go to Wimbledon and witness one of those events, because you will never be the same human being after you do that. And eventually you want to have your own Grand Slam where you've been to all the majors, because the Aussie is fun. You stay downtown, you walk to the courts. The weather's great because it's summertime there, it's wintertime up here, and it's great. Everybody's more relaxed down there. Beginning of the year, no one's burned out. And then you go right into the French. Springtime in Paris is magical. Tradition is at Wimbledon, and then you finish out the Grand Slam year at the New York. And it's rough, it's tough. It's sports fans, it's not tennis fans. And you can get the fans all riled up. And it's Arthur Ashe Stadium, and it's New York, and it's awesome.
What is your favorite tennis book?
Inner Game of Tennis. There are a lot of good ones, but I've always liked Handful of Summers. If you really want to know what it was like when Rod Laver played, when there was no money, Handful of Summers by Gordon Forbes is a must. I hope they're talking about making a movie out of that. I'd highly recommend that to find out what it was like when those guys played, Billie Jean King and all those guys, with no money on the line. They just played it because they loved the sport and seeing the world also. But I was for the Inner Game of Tennis, it really helps you understand. Again, I'm a big natural method guy. The Inner Game of Tennis started as this guy was a tennis teacher and finding out how players connect with the ball and with the vibe. How do we get into the zone? How do you naturally, is it taught or is it a natural thing? And so I read that and I have audio to that, and I just tune in. I pick up something new all the time, or it clicks me into teaching a better lesson and coaching better.
It's a great book for coaches and players, and I always encourage people to read it, because one thing I see at a lot of these USTA tournaments is this technique. Like a lot of times it's serve technique, but it might be anything that's all kind of out of whack. And I feel like a lot of coaches overcoach the technique, and
And
players
in the junior level, a lot of tennis parents.
Yeah, that's true as
they're
well.
way into that, and so they can. We could
but
go on.
The inner game of tennis does a good job of explaining it to a player, so you'll know if your coach is doing that. And you can kind of filter out and figure out, find the best coach that's a good fit for you.
The best coach is allowing them. Like, we have a girl on the team, Kirsten Flipkins. I call it Flip Magic.
Yeah.
And it's the closest thing that I've ever seen on the women's tour to John McEnroe.
Mm-hmm.
John McEnroe and anybody was the greatest doubles team that ever played. Mm-hmm. I mean, I played against him, and that dude could make the ball talk. It was amazing. Brian Brothers was the best team I ever saw. Mm-hmm. But it was John McEnroe and anybody. He could dominate a space. He was better in singles in doubles than he was at singles. He was just that good. Mm-hmm. And because he saw the game, like I said, he's a mad genius, the way he saw the court and how he handled pressure and applied pressure. Of course, being left-handed, big advantage. But to me, the inner game of tennis is allowing the creativity to come out. Mm-hmm. And so many times we want to box it and we want to frame it in a certain way instead of letting it shine. And I believe the inner game of tennis has allowed me as a coach, and I read it as a player, but I was too young to really understand it. Yeah. To allow the thing to really, and because I serve with both hands and try to be as creative, but a powerful creative. I play more physical tennis, but I could create different things tactically, and just the artistic side of it was so much fun, and that allowed me to bring that out in the inner game of tennis.
What's your favorite non-tennis book?
That's a really good question. What have I been reading recently? I'm really into like Outliers, or the study of the grit, the 10,000 hours stuff. Yeah.
Malcolm Gladwell.
I study that stuff, and I
like that too.
I could read that, and because I drive a lot, I do a lot of audiobooks. And I can just go back, and I take it in better. When I read it, for whatever reason, it's not, I don't absorb it like I do in the audio side of it. Yeah. And just little stuff is how we create brilliance, and how you create not just champions, but people that can really attain victory, which is basically their potential, whether they become number one in the world or not. Is like, how can I find my true potential, that victory, and define it through practice? Whether it's the other thing is, are you a flow practice player or are you a deliberate practice player? And my brother and I were two different types of practice players. I wanted to get my 100 cross courts in. I wanted to get my 100 serves in the ad court a certain way. Like, I knew if I put my 2,000 balls in on the wall, 100 forehands, 100 backhands, 100 cross courts, 300, and then I'd do topspin, and I'd do unders, and 2,000, I was done. Took me 40 minutes, and I was like, okay, now I'm ready to go. I got my work in. If he did that, my brother would want to chop his arm off. I'd never want to play again. But I could get him into a game. Yeah. Okay, let's do cross courts. Let's play to 11. He's like, game on. We'll play for $1. Yeah. Or we'll play for, a root beer float, or whatever it is. He, like McEnroe, that's why he played so much doubles. He didn't want to practice, but he could use his doubles or his mixed doubles as the practice element to it. So you got to understand, am I a flow practice partner or player, or is my student a flow player or a deliberate practice? They have to get so many in or so many reps in to feel comfortable and ready.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a good way to categorize it. I think I'd probably be more of a deliberate player myself. I think I'm more like you, just kind of trying to measure, and
I just like the check boxes. Yeah. Is my forehand ready? Is my backhand ready? I don't put as much into if I win the game or not, because I'm trying to get the reps in. I want to put in the work and chop the wood. Yeah. But it's knowing that.
Improvement. Yeah. What is your favorite tennis story?
Jeez. My favorite tennis story. How much time we got? We're going to have to open up a new file?
It depends. We got 30 minutes on this one.
I've got a lot of that. I've been very fortunate. I lived in a time before social media. Because if I had social media when I played, I think I'd be in prison still. We did some rough and tumble stuff back in the day.
Maybe give us one that would be
PG-13?
Acceptable. Yeah.
That the law enforcement wouldn't be tracking me down.
Yeah.
So back before Murphy was on the tour, he was playing the minor leagues. I'm 2.5 years older. I was kind of a journeyman, been playing some singles, mainly doubles, And I was in 1991. I was asked to be on the Davis Cup team, the U.S. Davis Cup team, from Captain Tom Gorman because I can serve with both hands. And we were playing Germany at the time, and it was Michael Stieck was right-handed, and this guy Carl Uwe Steve was left-handed. So instead of having a lefty and a righty, they just brought me in to be able to serve to everybody. But the secret really was to keep an eye on Andre Agassi. Now, Andre grew up with Murphy, and so I knew him, and I'd played him a couple times when he was coming up. And I said, man, I need you, this Captain Gorman, watch over Andre. He's got the private plane. He's got, lots of responsibilities, can be a loose cannon at times, but you're his personal practice player, personal bodyguard.
Yeah.
Everything he wants to do, you're right there with him.
Okay.
So from 91 through 92, those 2 years, we got to the finals in 91. We won it in 92. I was just kind of like in his kind of camp.
Yeah.
And one year, I don't know if it was 91 or 92, we were in Sydney, Australia, and there was a tournament right after Sydney in Hong Kong. It was an exhibition. And they were offering him $1 million to play. Now, I am making, honestly, I'm making like a hamburger and fries. I'm making like a Happy Meal in the, doubles didn't pay that much.
Right.
And so, so I was lucky to get a player's badge and be in the draw, much less making any money.
Sure.
So the guy I'm hanging out with and keeping an eye on and practicing with is like debating if he should play Hong Kong with $1 million guarantee plus $500,000 if he wins it, first class airfare and everything.
You've got to like play it cool, like it's no big.
I'm taking
I'm not
a
sure what I'd
freighter.
do either, man.
I'm taking a freighter by boat to these tournaments, and he's flying first class. And so, so on our day off, we go shark hunting, not shark fishing.
Never done
it's
that.
Jaws, exactly.
Okay.
So he gets Andre. If Andre says, let's go to dinner, if Andre says, let's go someplace, even though he doesn't tell you what we're doing, like, go. In Hawaii, we went like helicopter tours over volcanoes. He was so cool to hang out with.
Yeah. And
just because he's the coolest dude and he just thinks of everybody before himself. He's just one of the kindest hearts on the planet. And so this trip, we're going shark hunting. So you go. So we get out there, and I can't even see Australia. We're so far offshore, and it's just like the movie Jaws. No waves, perfectly calm, and there's some guy with his pants way too low throwing out the chum, and we're sitting there, and, you're waiting for the sharks to come and hit.
So they're like snorkeling?
No. We're fishing like with bait. We're fishing.
You're in the boat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we're not snorkeling.
Okay.
And like they got huge great white, some of the biggest great white sharks in the world are in Australia. So that's what we're going for.
Yeah.
And we got the bait out and everything. It's just huge chunks of fish. And we're sitting there and we're waiting hours and hours. And the topic of Hong Kong comes up. Should I play or not play? I'm like, dude, it's $1 million. It's an 8-hour flight. Even if you lose, it's $1 million. He goes, yeah, but I like to go home and I do this thing with my friends and blah 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 and watch the football games and the casinos and stuff. He's always done this time of year when he kind of shuts it down.
Yeah.
And I said, but it's $1 million. And he just turns to me and he's so smart and quick. And he always puts it back on me. $1 million, huh? $1 million. Money's that important to you. How much, if money's so important to you, how much would it take for you to take a lap, get in the water, and swim around the boat? And I'm like, what? And the people on the crew that are, running the boat and the fishing and all this stuff. Yeah. They're like looking at me because now the pressure's on me. I'm like, what do you mean swim around the boat? Yeah. What would it take? 25 grand? 25 grand. I've made 25 grand all year, and this is like the end of the year. Yeah. And he goes, well, 30 grand, 35 grand. He's going up. He's like at 40, 45 grand. I haven't seen this money in my life. Yeah. And I said, you got the 50 grand. And I'm looking at I'm looking around. I'm asking, do I have to,
sharks around here?
Do I have to touch the boat? No, you got to be away. We had all these rules to swim around the boat. Eventually I didn't go in. And, but it was just one of those funny things where, And so, it was just one of those, it just shows he always has fun with it, and it was never about the money.
Yeah.
It was about, him enjoying his life, and he would always pick up the check wherever he went. If we went out to dinner, pick up for the whole place.
Sure.
He's such a great, even to this day, he's just a dear friend. And in tennis, as you know, and you play enough tennis, you get to meet really special people, and he's one of them.
Absolutely. Did he go to Hong Kong?
I don't remember. I want to say he did. I want to say he didn't. And I told the tournament that I would go for a cool $250,000.
Yeah.
I'd probably swim there if they wanted me to. So, but no, I don't remember if he did. I just remember that story, and we never saw a shark that day.
Yeah,
that was the bummer. I was like, can I have $50,000?
That's too bad. Well, Luke, this was a lot of fun. Thanks for coming on, and hopefully we can make you poobah in the next year.
Yes.
Or so.
Yes, and go for winners.
Let's make that
2
a goal.
points for a winner. We need to go for more winners in this game.
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Buddy.
Thanks again. If you want to become a smarter doubles player and start winning more matches, then join the Tennis Tribe Doubles Strategy newsletter. Every single Thursday, I'll send you a new doubles tip or tactic that you can use in your very next match. And when you join, you're going to get a free guide on how to play with more confidence and start dominating at the net in doubles. My name's Will. I'm the founder of the Tennis Tribe, and over the last 5 years, I've worked with players at every level of the game, from USTA 3.0 players all the way to Division I college programs, as well as some of the top 10 doubles players in the world. And on Thursdays, with this strategy newsletter, I share that knowledge and advice that I've gained over the years with you. So to sign up, you can go to thetennistribe.com. And again, you'll get that free net play guide when you join.